Well, hello, beautiful people. How are we doing today? We are back at it. We are on part 13 of Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting by Lynn Grabhorn. I hope you guys are loving this just as much as I am. I love getting up every morning to do this or every afternoon, whatever. Sometimes I'm filming twice, it seems like. But to get this done because I am so excited to share this book with the world. I think it's a book that's very underrated and you guys are starting to see. I hope you guys are using some of these principles that are already being given to us, and understanding that it is all about the feelings. Let's talk about it. The feelings, the feelings, the feelings, and not just about the thoughts. And also becoming the person that you see yourself becoming, being that person now. And so we're going to get into chapter 3, part 13 right now. And let's go ahead and get started. And then we'll do a little session at the end. All right, here we go.
Chapter 3. No, no, not that. Step 1. I was driving down the freeway one day listening to a favorite Neil Diamond tape, not focused on much of anything, when I realized I had one of those funny little knots in my stomach. The kind that feels like there's a serious hole in your gut with a not so gentle breeze sailing through. Something was off base somewhere. And good old expanded self was sending me a clear signal to pay attention to my feelings. But since nothing came to mind, I decided to ignore it. Big mistake. I let my thoughts wander, paying little attention to the very obvious red flag I was feeling. Sure enough, my meandering thoughts wandered right into one of the loans I was in the process of closing. At that time, I was running my own mortgage company, a business that finds the best interest rates for people who want to buy or refinance their homes, and then arranges for the funding and ultimate closing of the loan. We were almost ready to close this young couple's loan when some sticky problems showed up I wasn't sure I could solve. That in itself was bad enough so near the finish line. But the worst of it was that these kids were really counting on this loan to end some of their grisly financial troubles. So here's my focus, 100% on what I do not want to happen, the loan to fall through. I've got red flags of negative feelings flying all over the place. A little dread, a little guilt, a large helping of gloom, and I'm ignoring them. The results of that negative energy flow were immediate. I had about one more mile of music before the tape player started eating my Jonathan Livingston Seagull cassette. About 2 miles after that, I was squeezed right into a 4-lane traffic jam from daytime roadwork. About 20 minutes and another mile after that, I get rear-ended, just rear-bumped, by some dude farther away in Madland than I was. About 10 minutes after that, I spilled the rest of my coffee all over a file of original loan papers. And when I finally got out of that mess and made it to a telephone, the lender told me the loan had fallen through. Considering how I had been flowing my energy, I was hardly surprised. I knew exactly what had happened, what a dork I'd been, and exactly what I had to do, fast. What had happened? What had caused that whole chain of pesky events? Was it just coincidence? A nasty string of unlucky circumstances? Not on a bet. It's how every single one of us has been creating our days since nursery school, focusing on all the stuff around us we didn't like, didn't want, and feeling helpless as we watched it get worse. We've been living a life we felt was largely at the mercy of forces outside of ourselves, over which we had no control. I mean, how many of us would take credit for having a lousy boss, being robbed, getting laid off, or catching the flu?
Yes.
And how many of us would not blame the government, or the economy, or our families, or the system for all that's wrong in our lives? Oh, sure, we'll take credit for some of it, the things we've set out to do and did. But would we honestly be willing to take responsibility for every last thing that's ever happened to us? Not likely.
Right.
What's wrong is what's wrong. There's a world of closet sufferers walking around this planet who will swear to you on their new Toyotas that they hardly ever have a negative thought. They'll tell you their life is just fine and that they're quite happy. Yet these are the same people who will tell you that life is never fair. It's full of trials, and that we must all learn to take our share of knocks. But yes, they're quite happy. Thank you. Never got all they might have liked, but we must take life as it is dealt. So yes, they're quite content. To which I say, bull. We cannot flow negative energy of any kind, in any degree, in any amount, and be happy. And that means anything from mild irritation to normal no feeling, flatlining, to perpetual dread. It's a physiological impossibility to be happy with that kind of energy flowing out because we're flowing two different vibrations that activate two different external and internal results. Closet sufferers are victims, plain and simple, just as most of us have been at one time or another, viewing our world as the result of uncountable circumstances over which we believed we had no control. We've all been there, or are there. It's only a matter of how much of the victim myth we've chosen to buy into and live. But we don't have to stay there. In fact, once you start to really see this magnetics business in action, it becomes pretty hard to ignore the glaring evidence. Our lives have been molded by the daily flow of our energy, not by luck, fate, circumstance, or a rich uncle.
Hmm.
When you stop to think that we've spent decades questioning what's wrong with everything, therefore, focusing on all the things in our world we didn't like, didn't want, or wanted to change, it's little wonder we've attracted such a barrel full of trials. No human being can be so continually disconnected from their source energy and get to wherever it is they want to go. So here's the flash. Continuing to live life as a victim of circumstance, forever focusing on what's wrong with everything and everybody, will never, ever bring the life desired. It will only bring one thing: more of whatever it is we're wanting so desperately to change. Recipe for creation.
All right. Well, let's get back here. Oh my goodness. This, light bulbs are going off. I don't know if it's just for you guys, and if they are, definitely comment down below, because what she's saying. I think we've all experienced, and I know that I have, right? And it's one of those things. I mean, I still do it now, even knowing all this, but that's why repetitive, being repetitive and learning in layers, like we were going back to school, is so important. My mentor always said you got to treat books like workbooks, right? You can't just read them once. And just what she's saying there, it's like the importance of when because we all have it, right? We all have this intuition that when there is something that you're feeling in your gut, and there's something that you're sitting with all of those negative thoughts, especially when you're trying to accomplish something, how deadly it can be. And then, yes, we do see the end of the domino effect. And if you look back in your life, and just like what I'm doing now and what I had done back then, and even today, and I recommend you guys do it, is where did these things show up? Think about the things that when you were, on the verge of having a huge breakthrough, and then all of a sudden it just crumbled. Right. And what was the course of thoughts? What was the feelings that you were ignoring when those things were happening? And it just seems so simple, but yet it's so difficult. But again, it's the feelings that we want to focus on more, because sometimes it's not even a matter of what we're thinking, right? But it's just that feeling of getting upset, that feeling of being triggered, that feeling of being sad, and then it continues to give us reasons to feel sad or to feel angry, um, or things just start happening. I mean, like, the big debate is always going to be, do we control traffic, right? Especially if you live in a place like, like here in California. I mean, there's just so much traffic all the time, but are we attracting it? Are we setting up our time, our day, to make sure that we hit traffic, right? That we're going to be late. And it's a perpetual thing. It's a thing that continues to happen, this big domino effect that continues to occur because of our thoughts. And that's really what she's trying to convey here in this book. And I think she's doing a really good job. So I hope you guys picked up on that. And like I said, comment down below if there's some situations that you guys do remember when it was a situation where you had a big deal and it fell through, right? So the good thing is that's not going to happen anymore, because we're going to keep listening and following through with this and committing to this work. I know that I am, so that these things don't happen. And we just need these constant reminders, so even if it is happening to you right now, the good news is that it doesn't have to continue. And now that you understand this and you have places to go, you're not going to deal with those things anymore. And we're going to get more into the details and the exercises. I mean, that's what I love about this book, is that there's so many exercises and challenges that you're going to be able to experience throughout this journey. So get ready, buckle up. It's going to be an exciting ride, and I can't wait for it. So until next time, you guys make it a great day and take care.